A few weeks ago we got some pretty big rumours regarding LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, so today I wanted to go back and talk a little bit more about that, because I've got a few ideas for it that I wanted to share with you. For those that missed it, the rumour circulating around is that TT Games are currently working on DLC for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga that is focused on The Mandalorian. Now that is all we know about it at the moment, and as it's only a rumour, do take it with a pinch of salt as it may not actually be happening. To what extent does this DLC add content though? Is it simply just level packs, or will they add more explorable hub planets, quests and more? Well, of course we don't actually know that right now, but I wanted to dive into what both experiences could be like if we actually got them. Personally, I think the most likely format for the DLC that we'll see is level packs. What I mean by that is simply that in the in-game menu, we'll be able to access additional story levels to play based on The Mandalorian Season 1 and hopefully Season 2, but we'll just have to wait and see. For each of the 9 films in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, we get to play through 5 story missions, as well as hub world story progression. Given that The Mandalorian has 8 episodes per season, I wouldn't be too surprised if we got to see 1 mission per episode, and I honestly think that would work really well. It would allow us to completely revisit the show in a new way, and the fact that the hub world might not be there means that we won't necessarily miss out on too much. Hopefully if it does work this way, then we'll potentially get Season 1 and 2, or perhaps we'll get Season 1 first and then Season 2 could release a bit later. The good thing about LEGO Star Wars is that we already have a lot of the core characters from the show, thanks to the 2 character packs that released last year, but if we got all these new levels then we could see a lot of other characters being added to the game, which I think would be awesome. Now, as good as that sounds, I think it would have worked perfectly for something like the previous LEGO Star Wars games, but Skywalker Saga is full of hub worlds and exploration and so much more, so I feel like it would be best if TT Games followed that same pattern with this DLC, assuming of course that they are actually working on this. So with hubs, I imagine we'd get at least 5 levels per season of the show, with other stuff happening in the open world as per the rest of the game. With regard to the number of hubs, this could be done in 2 ways. Firstly, TT Games might only have Navarro as a hub to explore, with the other planets happening only in the levels that they've made. Or like the rest of the game, every planet we go to is a new hub world. For Season 1 that's not too bad though, as there's only really 3 to 4 planets, but that's still obviously a lot of work. However, if they added hubs from Season 2 as well, then that would be a further 4 to 5 planets I think, adding an additional 8 to 9 brand new hubs to the game, along with other locations to other planets, like Mos Pelgo to Tatooine, and obviously that adds up to a hell of a lot of work, which I don't think they would have done. But I suppose that does depend on when they actually started working on this and when it releases. Given that Star Wars Celebration is fast approaching, I really wouldn't be surprised if we got some kind of announcement of sorts whilst we're there, which would be awesome as I'm going to be there myself. And my guess is that they could potentially release this around May the 4th. But given that Star Wars Jedi Survivor now releases on April 28th, I would assume that this LEGO Star Wars DLC would probably be added to the game much later this year. That would then allow Jedi Survivor to get out of those early stages of sales and potentially gives time for Star Wars Hunters to release as well. Regardless, I am hoping for an announcement of sorts at Celebration this April, or potentially an announcement on May 4th, so a month later, with a release later in the year. That is of course assuming it happens. Personally, I would love nothing more than for LEGO Star Wars to get more content like this. I think there's a huge amount of potential for TT Games to keep making content for the game like this, and if this Mandalorian DLC is actually happening, then hopefully it's successful and then they might do it for Mando Season 3, The Book of Boba Fett and other TV shows. Anyway guys, that is hugely optimistic and they may not even be doing anything at all apart from their next game, which is supposedly another LEGO Batman game, so we will just have to wait and see. If they are doing this DLC though, let me know what you'd like to see from this in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching and may the Force be with you always.